Hi folks, it's me, the Bee, and welcome back to another review. Well, actually, welcome back to 2 reviews. So what I'm going to do is something a little bit different. I'm going to very briefly talk about John Carpenter's Christine and John Carpenter's Dark Star. Now, the reason why I've crushed these two together is, quite frankly, one movie is as boring as Max Donovan and Victoria Kelly, and the other one is pretty silly, but it also gave birth to something amazing, and we'll get to that. So, first and foremost, Christine is, of course, based on Stephen King's best-selling book, and as with many Stephen King book adaptations, this movie kind of falls in the "this sucks" bin. The reason why, it's not necessarily due to Carpenter's own fault, but how do you successfully translate a book that is about a killer Plymouth onto the big screen and make it actually scary? You kind of can't. There's something inherently absurd about Christine, and I feel it works more in the literary form because of that. The actors themselves do what they can with it, but quite frankly, I was very bored by Christine. And I tried to find something I really did like about it, and yes, it does have the very sort of typical John Carpenter means of, you know, directing a movie, like with the camera angles and the composition and the sparing use of violence, gore and whatnot, but this is definitely not Carp's finest, and you can kind of tell. Now, granted, this was earlier in his career. He had already made Halloween, but he still really hadn't hit his stride, film-wise speaking. So, yeah, in general, I would give Christine a 2 out of 5. It's, quite frankly, I can't remember too much of it. Now, I have managed to watch it in the last few weeks, so technically speaking, it is still quite fresh in my mind. But other than the fact the car does look quite impressive, Christine looks beautiful. Yeah, everybody in that film is completely unlikable. And yes, they are meant to be selfish-ass teenagers, but you gotta have a sense of anchor when it comes to making a horror film, or any film in particular. Even if you don't necessarily, well, like them, you gotta find a way to empathize with them. And everyone in this film seemed cold, like uncaring. Nobody wanted to be in this movie, and bless them, some of them actually tried. Some of the cast actually legitimately gave it a go to be, you know, to give the audience a sense of investment, but once again, it falls so flat. Like, Christine is a flat tire on a long, hot road in the middle of the day. It's pretty unpleasant. So, sorry, Carp. Dark Star. Dark Star was not John Carpenter's first film, but it was perhaps the first film that really put him on the map in terms of a full-length feature. Now, it's kind of a cult favourite, but it's still not up to scratch than, say, you know, Halloween, Escape from New York, and all those other sorts of cult movies. No, Dark Star is very, very particular, and it has an acquired taste. And unfortunately, it doesn't quite work for me. Now, I do understand that the film was definitely based on stoner humour, and I do understand the concept, but I've never really bought into that sort of genre, and that's my own sort of that's my own opinion. Like, I can only speak for myself, and let's face it, if you're not somebody who's, you know, had a toke or like taken LSD, you probably won't be as invested and interested in Dark Star. Like, it is a very tripped out, whacked out movie that I think you can only appreciate if you've seen like pink elephants walking around your room or something. But that being said, it does have some moments of really absurd humour, and that comes back down to the beach ball alien. That alien cost absolutely nothing. Well, probably a couple of dollars, of course, and like some spray paint or something, but there is just something so absurdly hilarious about this alien that bounces around the ship and bloop, 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 and causes so much trouble. This is probably what 2001: A Space Odyssey had been if it was, you know, smoking some funky, you know, some funky stuff. It's bonkers. And, you know, despite that, you can see the makings of a very interesting and prolific filmmaker in here. But this is my favourite part of Dark Star. For every single failing that I felt for Dark Star, it gave birth to one of the finest, most brilliant and terrifying science fiction movies ever made. Alien. Dan O'Bannon was partly responsible for the creation of the Alien mythos, and the series for that matter, and he has a lead role in Dark Star. And it's kind of funny, like, Dark Star pretty much gave birth to the Xenomorph, in a sense, or rather the story of the Xenomorph. And, you know, O'Bannon actually took this experience of working on a film, and he sort of, like, turned it around and made it into a horror classic. So, yeah, it's really interesting and very, very inspiring that from something so silly came something absolutely serious. And, yeah, you already know my thoughts on Aliens. So, for that, I would give Dark Star a 2.5 out of 5. I'm not the target demographic, okay? A lot of the jokes pretty much went over my head, and the only stuff I got were the more sort of visual gags and the general, you know, absurdity of the story. So yes, that was like me wasting 6 minutes and 30 seconds of your time. So thank you very much for listening to me ramble, guys, and as usual, I shall see you in the next video. Bye bye for now.